Hello there, this is Dave Klein, your senior liberal host here in Painted Post, New York. Look at that picture in the back of me. When I looked at it the first time, I thought of whenever I go to Suffern along the Erie Track, I go by a poor old farmhouse that shingles are broken and black. I know I've passed it 100 times, but I always stop for a minute to look at the house, the tragic house, the house with nobody in it. That young man died in the 69th Armor in World War I, and he also wrote a poem called Spring. And he was 28 years old, an American, and his name was Joyce Kilmer. So here we are with Liberal Radio, 50 seconds into it, and you've got a bit of a poetry lesson. I didn't mean for it to start that way, but here's what we're going to do. Look, I have served my country, and now I'm older, and it's still time to serve. We all have a personal responsibility in all this. Whether you're liberal, whether you're Republican, whether you're a Democrat. I always liked William F. Buckley. He had a purpose, and he spoke to that purpose. And then by the time we got to New York and we got Alphonse D'Amato, it became a joke. I think more than anything else, the era of Newt Gingrich, what he ushered in America was outright vitriolic hate. Not that there hadn't been done a little bit before that, make no mistake. Certainly what George Bush, the father, did in regards to Willie Horton was not a good thing to do, because we live with consequences. Or in the words of Shakespeare, the evil that men do lives after them, and the good is often teared in their bones. So let it be with Caesar. So there you have it. What we're going to talk about a lot is the liberal side of things and all right, what I don't want, what I would like not to have, but probably I can't help it, is vitriolic. Let's talk about things. Yesterday, I saw the judge go through a whole hour on television about this thing in Cleveland about not indicting those people. It's a tragedy that they're not indicted. But when the bar is beyond a reasonable doubt, that reasonable doubt is listened to when it comes to authority. Beyond a reasonable doubt when it comes to putting a black man in prison, or a white man or a poor person in prison, Hispanic, black, white, or indifferent, they're poor, then we can say, if we maintain our stereotypes, then what we can do is we can convict people and send them to jail on circumstantial evidence. So I think the responsibility actually is with that judge yesterday, and it is with judges. And somebody has to take a look at reasonable doubt, because just because a DA gives you circumstantial evidence and can convince a jury, judges have to be a little bit more careful before they allow things. But that's neither here nor there. This show is about fair economics. It's about religion. It's about all the kind of things we talk about. It don't have to be right, and it don't have to be wrong. It's an opinion. And everybody knows opinions are like. The controlling bourgeois, if you will, in our country, is pretty much based on winning elections. So we've gotten to the point now where we're almost ready to kill people to have power. It's nothing else but power. When you try to take somebody down, it's because they've got more power than you like them to have. And so it's not a matter of lessons. If Iraq taught us anything at all from the Bush administration and Cheney, it was that once you pull a hand grenade and you got it in your hand and you don't know what to do with it, you have to throw it. And you can't always know. My Uncle Ken, who we're celebrating this weekend as having been one of those guys at Omaha Beach and in the Battle of the Bulge where he was wounded, one of those guys. And Uncle Ken said one time, he was out on a patrol, and he ended up pulling a pin out of a grenade, and he had thrown the pin away, and the sergeant looked at him and said, "Throw it down a well." And he said he threw it in the well, and he said he never checked because he didn't want to think that there'd be some Germans hiding in that well. That's the importance of life. Where this young soldier, 19 or 20 years old, didn't want to take, and I don't know if we're minimizing that or what, but that's what it's about. And he fought for that right for me to do this. He fought for me to be as liberal as I want to be. He also taught me to drink club soda, and he taught me how to organize, and he taught me that imperfection was just part of the deal. I learned from all my uncles. I had one that played a guitar. He was a lead guitar player, and this is back before Dylan, man. He used to play the harmonica with a thing on, and he'd play, Ernest Tubbs. It was all country, which I've never been a fan of, but what the heck. It was great, and he was good. So being liberal is a difficult, sometimes, proposition, and it has been. All my life I've been liberal. In fact, I'm more liberal now than I was 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, 50 years ago. I've never been extraordinarily, I don't think I've ever been middle of the road. I've always been left center or more. The young people and the people in their mid-careers, let's say up to 50, politics is ordinarily not a hobby for people under 50. Some, but it's not as rare. You just have to have time for it. And you kind of work yourself up into a sweat, and it's the end of the world. I mean, really, Chicken Little? Come on. It's not. The consequences, though, are so enormous for families. And we live in a time where there are more and more people all the time, and yet there's less kind of equity in both the power and the material, the assets, if you will, and the resources out there are more limited to people without money, as I stated earlier, in the legal system, for example. I mean, if you really stop and there are many great, public defenders out there, but there's a lot of public defenders that are probably alcoholic and couldn't hit their ass with two hands, and the kind of town takes care of them a little bit. Oh my God, they do. They're Republicans, and they give alcoholic lawyers the right to defend people? Isn't that socialism? Oh, gosh darn it, I shouldn't have done that, And then, what have you got? And security in the United States? Well, let's talk about that. All we ever talk about is our crazy, the Christians all want, fundamentalist Christians, what they want is everybody be a fundamentalist Christian here. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And then they could start beating their wives again, stuff like that. That'd be cool. And then, I don't know what we would do with all the gay people. I suppose shoot them. I don't know. What do you want to do with them? I mean, and well, we could go back to everything, and you could decide. We could have 4 people in a whole town decide what the hell happens to everybody, and we can take their Constitution. There's an app for a couple of bucks. Go buy it, read it, and maybe you'll know something about the Constitution. Most of you are idiots that believe that we're all not the same. All right? We are all the same. That's right. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Pause.